Hey everyone, just a bit of background information before this episode. So the three of us are, graduates of film courses through the education system. The three of us went through and did a bachelor's in cinema studies, which was more theoretical based, and you learned a lot about film language and film theory, with elements of practicality in there. But it was mainly theoretical based, a lot around script writing as well. So then all three of us then went on and did a master's degree in film with individual pathways that led to specialist subjects. For example, Rid focused on writing, taking the script writing course. Eddie focused on producing, taking the production management course. And myself, I focused on cinematography, interested in directing and cinematography myself. I'm also interested in editing and writing as well. In today's episode, we mention about quality dilution in cinema, specifically based around Marvel and Star Wars. And then we will break off into the films we've seen in 2024 so far, particularly discuss a few of them, and then, break off into the category of Dune, because all three of us have seen them, and, there's obviously a lot to talk about. So yeah, enjoy.
Different.
Yeah, with all
like
the
there's
use of digital and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the 2010s, you could probably name things that when filmmakers are doing something different rather than trying to rehash and do something different that's already been done. But we can actually sit here and name like the filmmakers who are trying to do something different. But if you can sit there and name them, it means there's not very many.
Yeah.
I actually think like the 2020s have been the worst decade for film, and I thought it was really hard to top the 2010s in terms of being the worst, because I thought the 2010s really, like 2010s was really, really bad for film, but 2020s has taken the piss.
I think there was two really great years for 2010s, and then
I think 2019 was an amazing year for film.
And then
what else was it? 2014, 2017?
I like 2014 and 17.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Then since 2020, like, I haven't been watching many of the 2020s, 2021 films at all.
Yeah,
I've
same.
probably seen about 5 collectively, like.
Oh, right. I was about to say, I watch about 20 a year, but 5, fair enough.
Yeah, honestly, I've legit, in terms of the 2020s and 2021 films, I've barely seen any.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think one of them which was the Oscar year. There was probably one film I seen, like, out of all the nominees. Like,
I think they do all the Oscars every year.
I don't remember.
No, it was either 2021 or I don't know, either one of them. But yeah,
I don't remember what would have been nominated for both of those years, to be honest. Because 2020
was it the one with Promising Young Women and that? I've literally barely seen any of them.
Like Sound of Metal.
I've seen Sound of Metal, and I think that was the only one I watched.
Did you like Sound of Metal?
Yeah, that was actually good.
Yeah, I loved Sound of Metal. I thought that it was undeservedly snubbed from too many awards, as I think the exact same thing for every single Oscars. And I hate watching the Oscars, which is why I don't watch the Oscars, because they suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a fire opinion.
Yeah.
You burn them down.
I didn't mean literally. I'm not an anarchist.
You will burn down Jimmy.
Actually,
I even hate the nominations.
If this goes to air, if this makes it, Jimmy Kimmel, I'm coming after you, bitch.
I was gonna say, like, I even hate the nominations, never mind the fucking winners, so,
I agree. And the thing is, I actually found, like, I'm pretty sure you both know this already, but the nominations are by people sending them in. Like, it's not even what the people who run the committee think should be nominated. It's what other people send in as nominations.
Yeah, well, it was like It was like that one year when, because Adele Hanel spoke out about, like, the France cinema industry, and, like, for Polanski, France didn't put forward was it Portrait of a Lady on Fire for selection. So it didn't get anything the Oscars, even though it was, like, winning elsewhere.
It's fucking insane, because you get, like, I personally consider, like, Portrait of a Lady on Fire one of the best films I've seen.
Yeah.
But then in a lot of circles, they will go unrecognized, unnoticed, and certainly unrewarded for, like, the quality of film they can be. because of like political reasons, and it's really annoying.
Yeah.
And it's only political reasons I would terms of being overly safe as well, because that's what all the Oscar winners are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like, yeah, like they either do the Oscar winners are either winners that they know are going to give them positive press, and I understand the prerogative of trying to be progressive and stuff like that, of like giving Coda an Oscar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'll just let that hang for a bit. But then you also get stuff like Green Book winning, which is like hilarious because like the people who actually it was about never gave their permission, and there was so much shit about it.
But
so
it's
yeah,
like
the Oscars are just a farce.
It's like I was saying to Eddie the other day when we were on about the Oscars and Best Actress, and I was like,
yeah.
for nominations, me personally, I would have included Penelope Cruz and Sydney Sweeney. Watch Reality is pretty good.
Yeah, no, I've not seen any Sydney Sweeney films.
Anyone But You is low-key a banger.
Is it?
I do actually want to watch that.
It's actually pretty solid. Like it's very early 2000s like comedy.
Yeah.
It's like and
Bombs actually reminded me like of the early 2000s stuff. I like what the film industry is sort of doing with filmmakers trying to capture that.
Yeah.
I thought Bombs was okay. I preferred Shiva Baby a lot more though than Bombs.
Yeah, I really like Shiva Baby. I like Bottoms more. I think just for the comedy of it, 'cause it feels very, like you say, kind of that kind of Judd Apatow 2000s type style, but just kind of turned up to 11 and really heightened. But I think both are really, really good. I think Rachel Sennett is a star in the making, at least a indie.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Indie star. Yeah.
I actually haven't seen Shiva Baby, but I actually like the sort of motif that seems to be happening quite frequently, like where the characters are supposed to be like not conventionally attractive, but they end up being like,
Sean Levy directs that one.
What was the topic? I'm sorry.
We never went on to it. We just started rambling.
Should we start the first topic? Should we start films of 2024 we've seen and enjoyed or not enjoyed? Any films of 2024 that you would like to
of 2024?
Yeah.
I've only seen two.
I've also seen two.
You guys seen Argyle? You guys seen Madam
Web?
Web?
I've not seen any of them. I don't
want to see any of them.
I've seen The Beekeeper.
Oh, how was that?
I actually want to watch that.
It was a blast. It was a blast. Honestly.
It looks like a blast because it's just Jason Statham kicking ass, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. It's like, he's like, it's like a full-on hate revenge against those like online scammers, and it's just 90 minutes of him just hunting down and just absolutely destroying the hell out of them.
Now, you can imagine the people who made this film, not only had they clearly been scammed, but also they must be past 50. Because nobody's getting scammed unless you are past 50.
Or a beekeeper.
Or a beekeeper, apparently,
and that was the thing, is like, the whole thing about it is, this beekeeper thing, where there's supposed to be these, like, I don't know, like, agents or some shit, but nothing's ever explained. It's like, they keep bees, but like no one knows what's going on. These arbitrary like beekeeper lines, like they like.
What does he say? I'm the motherfucking beekeeper.
It's just like I like he's always referring to like I'm a beekeeper. I'm a beekeeper. I keep my bees and all this. And it's like I've got to protect the hive. It's constantly said I've got to protect the hive. And then
it sounds like a masterpiece.
And then, as I said in my review, Shakespeare would be proud. They do have a legendary to be or not to be. I mean, it is incredible.
Very nice.
And
I stand the genre of film where they don't explain anything.
Yeah, and in fairness as well, like the actual action is really good. I know the fight choreographer was on John Wick 4, so
okay.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And we know Jason Statham can do action anyway, so it was a good match.
How old is he now? Isn't he in his like 50s?
Yeah, I think so.
Christ. What is shocking to me is that this isn't an anomaly. It actually is quite common now, where you'll get these
56.
action stars Yeah, you'll get these action stars well into their 50s or 60s in Tom Cruise's case that are behaving as if they're in their 20s, which is like insane, like longevity and incredible fitness.
Modern medicine, folks. Modern medicine.
Modern medicine.
Oh, yeah.
Not insinuating anything.
Yeah, modern medicine.
Hollywood's clean. Come on.
It's all natural.
Let's just say it rhymes with hemorrhoid.
Hollywood's clean, folks. Hollywood's clean.
Hemorrhoids are not very clean. Neither what rhymes with them. Anybody ever had a hemorrhoid? Anyway, let's move on.
On the topic of Jason Statham, have you seen? I forgot the film. Incredible.
The Meg.
No, not the Meg. That was pretty
Meg.
ass. Have you seen Wrath of Man? Actually, have you seen Wrath of Man?
Yes, I've seen Wrath of Man. Yeah.
What did you think?
I like Wrath of Man. It's a pure testosterone-filled dad, fantasy revenge thriller.
Yeah.
And as far as revenge thrillers go, yeah, I think it kicks ass. I think revenge thrillers in general, I think I really detest revenge thrillers.
Yeah.
But somehow I watch them all of the time. And I end up liking them. Maybe that says something more about me.
I do think it's. Do you think it's pretty interesting though that, as being a Guy Ritchie film, that it feels completely, in terms of visual style, it's nothing like a Guy. It feels more like a Michael Mann film.
Yeah, it feels very in terms of like because Guy Ritchie has he has a well-known style, but it doesn't. Yeah, I agree with you. It feels like one of the lesser Guy Ritchie films. Like Aladdin didn't feel like a Guy Ritchie film, but it's more of a Disney film than it is a Guy Ritchie. It's not even a Guy Ritchie film. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it's in that sort of mold where so I don't know if he was trying something different at the time, but then I watched a film like I think it's Operation Fortune, which was horrendous, and that's a very much a Guy Ritchie film. So it makes me feel like what was going on there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. You're not really going to learn anything besides Jason Statham kicks ass, and if you already know that, not really any point in watching it. Yeah. But it's a kick ass time though.
And the opening scene's great.
Yeah. To be fair, like I really liked. I liked the approach to the film. It was like sometimes when you have a revenge thriller like that isn't actually about too much, everybody seems to actually be very aware of that, and it's good when a revenge thriller everybody is on the same page and knows that it isn't about too much, and they can just focus on like the John Wick films. Everybody knows exactly what they are.
Yeah.
So it's great when you're on the same page like that, rather than making it actually about something. Because I think the only John Wick film that's about something is the first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rest of them just seem to be happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
How about both of you? 2024 films.
I've not seen any 20. I've seen two. Like the thing is, I've put it on my 2024 list, but I actually think it's a 2023 film, and it's Poor Things.
Yeah.
It's
2023.
So like I've actually technically only seen one 2024 film, and I don't even remember what it was.
Dune.
It'd be Doom, wouldn't it?
Dune.
Oh yeah, that one as well.
Which
I actually think is if it was, it's on the list by itself, right? But if there's 50 films added to this list by the end of the year, I still think it would be the top.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely cannot see it not winning. Like, I was gonna say not winning things at the Oscars, but I don't give a shit about the Oscars, so who cares? But either way, I think it's destined to be the best film of the year.
Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to top. I mean, I think if anything's going to, it's probably going to be Furiosa, but
yeah. Like I'm looking forward to revisiting Fury Road actually, because I don't know, I've seen it like 2 or 3 times and it doesn't click with me, and it may be because like I don't like road films.
Oh, okay.
It's why I've not watched like Thelma and Louise, just in case I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine why I wouldn't like it and stuff like that. But road movies never click with me.
Yeah. You had a meltdown at just hearing the film Drive My Car existed.
The thing is, I don't even Drive My Car.
I don't even know if it's actually a road film, but
yeah, Drive My Car is actually not a road film, but it bangs.
It's a Dead Wife film.
I know that director's got a film coming out soon that looks pretty good. Seen it in Chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I would love to go to Chapter more often. It's just like I live in bumfuck nowhere, so it's
the trailer looks really good. You probably would have seen it when you went and seen when you went the other day.
Oh yeah, what for Monster?
Yeah, you probably would have seen it for that because I had the trailer for it. I
I'll
think
check
what's called.
Glowbox now. But
It looks really good.
Hamaguchi. I'll check his.
I'm looking forward to seeing Monster as well.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
I just basically never go to the cinema anymore. I have things to do, like look after nephews.
Evil does not exist.
Yeah, it does. You seen the Oscars?
It's here right now.
Yeah.
It's in my watch list.
It's here. It's in the room.
It's in my watch list, but I do not recognize the poster on that box. But I must have seen the trailer at Chapter, but not remembered it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's up to Eddie. 2024 films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen 4 2024.
Oh! He's seen 4. He's more than me.
He's a cinephile.
Should I rank my 2024 from worst to best?
Yeah, you can do, and then give us a reason why.
Okay, so the worst film I've seen in the worst release of 2024 I've seen, and probably the worst film like of all time I've ever seen is Matthew Vaughn's Argyle. A piece of shit, a stinky, terrible, cringy shit film.
This is why I don't go and see new films.
Now it's baffling. It's a baffling film, and I don't understand anything about it. It blows my mind that
it sounds like a masterpiece the way you're describing it, though.
Do you know anything about it, Rid? Like, have you heard any of like the spoilers?
I've seen too many of the same trailer. I've seen too many of the stupid haircut of one who will go unnamed.
Yeah.
I've seen stupid haircuts plural. I've seen basically too much of the film without actually seeing it.
Nah, yeah. Okay. Well, like, obviously the whole thing they did with that was the whole who is Agent Argyle thing and all the marketing.
Yeah.
But it was revealed in the press release for the film like 2 years ago, and it was always there, but no one gave a shit enough to actually go and dig that up until like a day before the film came out. But it's the stupidest fucking twist in anything ever.
I'm guessing it's what? It's the lead. It's Ginger.
Yeah. Spoiler warning for fans.
Like, the thing is, I haven't even seen it, and it's so obvious.
For fans of Argyle.
Yeah, for fans of Cumass and fans of Matthew Vaughn, spoiler warning. But the lead's real name is R. Kyle.
Because isn't she a book writer and Argyle is not real?
Yeah. So like she writes books about an agent Argyle, but then it reveals at the end that she was a spy who like hit her head and got amnesia, and then she was and her real name was Agent Argyle.
Like this is what's hilarious. How has somebody wrote that and got funding? This is probably like $100 million film. Like
I know, like. All those actors signed on to that. Like, why?
It's so fucking stupid.
I know. It's like, so fucking dumb.
As writers, we are taught to write our inner trauma and then express it on the page so that others may learn something from it. Who the fuck is learning anything from Argyle?
Okay,
it's deep.
I've got a question then. We get that obviously art is subjective, but do you think it's worrying then that a lecturer in our uni, or our former uni, watched Argyle and was very positive about it?
One who gave us like such unhelpful feedback on our film.
Yeah, because he was like, "Oh, you need to make it more clear." So essentially, our film was kind of bordering along the line of like. You could probably say there was bits of experimental, like avant-garde one there for sure. Yeah. And he was like trying to make it way more like, oh, we need to tell everything like to the audience, when it was very clearly that there was elements of subtlety towards it, and he was just like, no, we need it full on. Yeah, you give it a 3.5 star, saying good fun. The action was spectacular. Casting was great. The plot was a little obvious. The blinking motif got annoying. Blah blah blah. But yeah.
Oh,
it's like I get that you know, we get that film and art is subjective, but do you think that's worrying then that, you know, a guy that's teaching people on film is, you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't use the phrase worrying. I would use the phrase deathly concerning.
Yes, I would say concerning.
Yeah. I had the same issue with one of my lecturers on the screenwriting course,
okay,
where my script was like specifically subtle, because I like writing subtly.
Yeah.
I don't like telling the obvious to the audience, because that's just not my style of writing. I know the very go-to for things these days is to be very blatant, yada yada, and I suppose it's because that's the way you get jobs and shit, but I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in expressing art in the way that I feel is actually most communicative, and that's not directly punching it in the face to the audience. But the constant feedback I would get is like, you need to make it less subtle. So when I would make it less subtle, he would still say, I don't get it. So I remember writing one script that was about the bonding of two brothers, and it was a very sort of about how these little moments actually are very formative for us in our childhood, where something can mean nothing to somebody else, but it's actually part of your identity, your personality today. And he said to me, I don't get it. So I quickly found out that you actually have to write like an idiot in order to get good marks sometimes, which sucks. Because we've been like taught in like previous courses or whatever to write how we want to write, and then you're taught to get a job, and in order to get a job you have to basically dumb yourself down in order to dumb down, or rather bring yourself down to the level of the people watching it.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I really derailed things there. I have a lot of bitterness and trauma.
I mean, I agree.
Matthew Vaughn, jail him.
Matthew Vaughn's, he's the next Bond director.
Yeah, I can see
if that happened, I think I'd kill myself. At the very least, I would not watch the next Bond.
I'm only like half joking with that. I genuinely think that he could be a contender for it.
He'd be in the discussion, wouldn't he?
Yeah. What do we think about Sam Mendes making 4 individual biops about the members of the Beatles?
I didn't even know about that.
Yep.
Did you know? Yeah.
Yeah, the cast has actually been announced. It's the 4 guys from the In-Betweeners.
Can you guess who's who?
And apparently they're going to cross over into each other.
Doing, man?
Yeah, they're making the multiverse arc about the Beatles.
Yeah.
We're going to have John Lennon will return in Beatles 2.
I can't wait for the Yoko spin-off.
So is that going to be the thing then? We get the 4, and then we get like Yoko spin-offs, but then we have the ultimate Beatles film, like the Avengers movie, come together. All of them join.
And then we get Wings. We get everything.
It's going to be insane. We're going to get the traveling Wilburys. Oh,
I'm ready.
It's just going to be... I think the point in cinema should have really hit filmmakers that things are becoming so diluted that quality just isn't a thing anymore. It's just, what can we do to make money now?
Yeah.
Instead of what can we do to make art.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Homie?
Yeah, brother.
Well, I mean, that's like the evident downfall of Marvel over the last few years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it comes a point where things that are really enjoyable and are actually really good for escapism become, unfortunately, the pinnacle of what people see as filmmaking, entertainment, and storytelling.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because when you have to look at these things that are specifically there for not the reasons that we're learning about, and then you have to look at these things on... It's unfortunately, I think it's a very capitalism-driven sort of industry.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and that's what happens when I think, you know, with Marvel particularly, like they wrote themselves to a point where they could have ended it, and it would have been they would have had their legacy intact,
Yeah.
and people would. I think a lot of those films, there's obvious, disparaging in quality, but people I think still would have looked mostly fondly on it as a whole if they'd have just ended it at Endgame.
Oh yeah.
But when the money comes in and they keep going, that's when the problems happen, because then they're not making it for any story merit. It's instead just keep making money and keep churning it out, because now that whole thing is the dumpster fire.
Yeah, and I think it's like, COVID didn't help, where it almost killed cinema indefinitely. And I
Yeah.
think things are just so focused on making money now that it's actually become the norm. I think when you're focused on making money because, to recoup losses and stuff, that's understandable. But when it becomes the norm of the industry and the
Yeah.
foreseeable future, then it's really concerning for what we're going to see in terms of artistic merit in cinema.
Yeah. And speaking of Marvel and superhero movies, my third best film of 2024 is Madam Web.
Well, 2024 is off to a great start.
Yeah, the thing is, though, with Madam Web, I absolutely stand the marketing, because the marketing has been the Queen herself.
Yeah.
Just annihilating the film. Is just being like, this film fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I'm in it. I've been paid a lot of money for it. It took a lot of money to make it. I'm never going to do another one. It fucking sucks. That's incredible marketing.
Well, did you see? I think it was Sydney Sweeney. She was doing like a press thing the other day, I assume, for Immaculate, and someone from the audience just said to her, "Madam Web wasn't that bad," and she said something like, "Oh, they should use that on the poster." As a quote.
Actually, that kind of bangs. Yeah, could you imagine seeing a poster and saying it's actually not that bad? I'd go and see that.
What was the famous line? Something about
She was in the Amazon. Oh no, he was in the Amazon with my mother researching spiders right before she died. Is that subtle, Rid? Would you say would that get you marks in USW?
I mean, it's a better line than what I would have written. I don't think I'm as somebody who's not written a film that was, how many hundreds of millions did it take to make it?
Probably quite a few.
So I haven't wrote a film, so I'm not qualified to talk on that level of writing, I'm afraid. I'm simply a pretentious hipster. What do I know?
80 million.
80 million. That is actually significantly lower than I expected.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Madam Web, so I'm not going to comment on it. But I'm happily not going to see it at the same time for the foreseeable ever.
Yeah, I'm never watching it.
It's very bad. Very, very bad. Mostly just very boring. Not the worst thing in the world. It's probably being harsher to it than it needs to, but I guess
it does sound like the Morbius sort of thing, where it does suck. But like, I actually think Sony are really big perpetrators in terms of making films for money rather than artistic merit. Like,
oh yeah,
if you look at the absolute slop they've released over the past decade, more than a decade, it's just these titles are just being used so as they can recoup some. It's not even recoup anything. Sony, come on, you're a multi-billion. Yeah, it's just like you're a bunch of tossers.
But yeah, like you said, I think it's been pretty much evident since all the way back to the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, because they've just been trying to get something going since then, like trying to build like a Sinister Six type thing. But
that was so bad.
Yeah, they're never gonna, I think, be able to do that. I think after Craven and Venom 3, I think that franchise is probably gonna
Craven.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Oh dear. Speaking
of Bond, Craven.
I actually think it's interesting where you get these terrible superhero films from Sony and Fox before Disney acquired it or whatever, and they come out and they fucking shit. And but it's interesting how the genre, if you discount what Marvel Studios have done, if you just look at the superhero genre, today it would still just be looked at as one of those genres that didn't work, because that's how the superhero genre was basically looked at until the 2000s. Even early 2000s films was you get Hulk and Daredevil and shit, but they weren't seen as a problem. They were just seen as what you'd expect from the genre. So it's interesting that Marvel creates such a mountainous a scale for the genre, and now it's become something that is actually a problem, not just for like the industry, but like it leaves a bad taste in your mouth and stuff like that. So it's not actually the superhero genre that's a problem. I actually just think it's the what has happened with what they've done specifically, and I would say like you get like stuff like Sony who are specifically making things for money, but then you get Marvel Studios that are making things for money, but like they're also making things in terms of what actually changes the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think they even meant to do that? Did you think they meant to change the industry irreparably so that now it's fucking shit? Because I think they did it accidentally, which is somehow commendable.
Yes, I think Kevin Feige would like to say that he had it planned out with his nice thinking cap that he always has on.
Do you know what I think what this has taught us? We need to keep freakish nerds away from any kind of art.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because it's just shit.
We need to kill Kevin Feige.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I'm
didn't
down with
realize
that.
like how down bad they actually were though until yesterday. Like I know we knew that they were in a a low point, but when they've got Florence Pugh Instagramming behind the scenes, that's how you know they're really they're really in trouble.
Yeah,
That
the
was
trouble
weird,
is though,
When
is like
when would that ever happen?
Yeah, because I saw that and I thought, like, is she allowed to do that?
Yeah,
Like, because they always keep that kind of stuff like under wraps, but then
yeah,
it like you say, it just shows that they need to generate some kind of buzz somehow. But
yeah.
really, who cares about? I don't even know what it is she's
Thunderbolts.
doing. Thunderbirds.
I mean, that'd be great.
Wow.
That'd be great.
Wow.
are going down the drain.
But hopefully, that's the last Marvel film she does.
No, no. She has definitely been contracted for more. I don't know that, but like it seems like from what they would. I haven't checked out the last couple of Marvel films because I do not care, but it definitely seems like her character's becoming somewhat integral to the Black Widow sort of arc. So it seems like she's like the new age Black Widow. So I could see her being part of Marvel for the next 5 years at the very least.
Yeah. Well, Marvel bad. I've realized I forgot a film that I saw this year.
Oh, here we go. Big
So it's
surprise.
5.
Big surprise.
5. This next film is probably in the same vein as Madam Web. Like it could either go above or below, kind of thing. It's the Mean Girls musical.
Oh.
Any fans?
I've not watched it.
No, Brian, fan of the Mean Girls musical?
I'm not even a fan of the original, so.
Are you not? Do you not like the original?
I didn't vibe with it at all.
No, fair enough. I do like the original. I think there's something to it. I think it's quite funny. I like Tina Fey, but I think this.
I love the original, but I hate the ending of it.
Yeah.
The ending. Yeah, the ending. I would say if I, the ending basically ruins the film for me.
Yeah.
But I like everything else so much that it doesn't ruin it. It's weird, but like I think the ending is an atrocity.
Yeah, I remember having the same. It just feels too rushed.
What is the ending? I don't remember.
The ending basically gives up on the ending basically gives up on all of the ideals and messaging that the entire film is about. Because like the main character, like at that point is like there's the main character does all these terrible things and then there's no comeuppance for her whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's horrible. The ending
like,
it stinks of being changed.
Yeah.
You think studio interference? So yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I've ranted so much about studio interference. We don't need another 5-hour podcast.
Well, the new musical version is very weird because it is obviously like the same story, but it's like little things are changed that just remove the bits about the original that are actually funny, and the songs are so bad. I've not heard the original like would it be Broadway? Probably Broadway recordings of them. But people say it's good, like the actual stage musical, but the ones done for the film are just terrible. Like they sound so cheap and so like poorly mixed and produced. Like I don't know what happened there, and it's just a bit cringe and just a bit nothing really lands. And it's just like I'm just watching a film I've seen before, but nowhere near as good, and with annoying songs that I don't want to listen to. So that
Yeah,
was
I feel like it sounds like it's been sucked in by the modern normalization of just quality dilution in cinema,
yeah,
because like
yeah,
things have been so shit, especially the last 5 years in cinema, that
mhm,
any morsel of quality and people think it's like a masterpiece. So like
yeah.
yeah,
Like
you
feeding off nostalgia is the current trend,
yeah,
isn't it?
this would perfectly lead into
Yeah,
Star Wars for me because I think that's what modern Star Wars is. Like
yeah, yeah,
the very few good things that they have today, people are lauding as incredible. But I actually just think it's just generally good. It's just so many things are dreadful. Is that this seems incredible? But it's just like it's in comparison. It's that these things are terrible,
yeah, yeah,
and it's just here. It's not over here. It's here.
yeah.
You see
I
this
mean,
right
yeah,
here?
yeah. I got that from Andor because I actually really like Andor, and it gave me a bit of like Star Wars like spirit again. But
Yeah, same.
ultimately, if that came out during a period of good Star Wars, I would probably think it was good, it was good. But
Yeah,
because it's everything else that Star Wars is so bad, I think Andor is actually like great. But
yeah,
just
because you've got to
Rogue
think Andor came out in between stuff like Obi-Wan and like the worst
yeah,
seasons of The Mandalorian. Because I think
and
the first
Ahsoka.
season of Mandalorian's good, and then I think there's an enormous drop off in quality as soon as it
Yeah,
starts pandering to an extremely and very famously vocal fan base.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think in terms of like the nostalgia bait which you said, I think the one thing that destroyed Star Wars as a franchise, and it's the moment we haven't like since it happened, it's just gone downhill. Was at the end of Rogue One, the Vader scene.
Mm,
I think
yeah,
that
yeah,
single-handedly destroyed Star Wars
yeah, yeah, 100%,
because
100%.
ever since, because obviously I know we had the Last Jedi after that, and then I think a lot of the immediate reaction was again
Yeah,
you have a film that contrasts what Rogue One does, and then
yeah,
instantly these geek fans have had Darth Vader mowing down a load of people, and then they go to the
yeah,
next one and see Luke Skywalker completely like
yeah,
transformed in his character, and then they're like, "Well, I don't want that. I don't
yeah,
want this." And then
yeah.
2019 we get Rise of Skywalker, which completely goes the other way, and
Mhm.
it's been going that way ever since.
One
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
funniest things I've seen J.J. Abrams say, and there's a lot, is I think it was in 2020 or 2021 or something. He said in an interview, "Yeah, I think there should have been some kind of plan."
No way.
uh,
The
Yeah,
thing is, as well, it's like I actually don't think it's too much of a problem. A director who wants to do something different, like Ryan Johnson coming in midway through a trilogy, as long as he's the director for the final one as well, because then that's 2/3 of a solid formulated plan. If J.J. Abrams does the whole trilogy, I even think it's a bit it's a more consistent trilogy. But there's no consistency in terms of what the Star Wars product was in the
yeah,
2010s.
yeah,
So
yeah,
in the
yeah.
mid 2010s, there's no consistency for it, and it's constantly
No.
because they're reactionary. They don't set the standard for what
Oh
they want
yeah,
their product to be. They're constantly looking at, let's release something. It doesn't really matter what it is. Let's just see how they react to it, and then we base our own opinions of what we've created
yeah,
mhm.
on what other people are saying. And I think that has been consistently been the problem that's led into the early 2020 slop.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah, because like as well, like with Rogue One, like I think you're right. It's definitely the kind of the what that Darth Vader scene represents, then feeding on nostalgia, then jumping to a scene of Princess Leia and weird CGI
oh
stuff. It was just capturing all of that, but also I think Rogue One, the entire tone of that film changed the tone of Star Wars
yeah,
I
after
agree.
that because now every Disney Plus series is so dark, so underlit, so serious, so dry and just with no personality. And I think that's why Andor's the only one I've liked because like and I don't even like Rogue One. I thought an Andor show was a fucking stupid idea. But
yeah,
then when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is made by actual people who know how to make television
yeah,
and people who know how to make an interesting thriller, as opposed to people who are just like, oh, let's get Obi-Wan Kenobi and let's get
Yeah.
Ahsoka Tano and they'll meet all the
Yeah.
characters people love.
Well, that's
and
the thing.
boring shit
I've
like
not
that.
seen Andor, but
Mm.
obviously it's had a lot of praise for its writing. But even its cinematography, like I've seen it side by side
Yeah.
with something like
Yeah.
was it Ahsoka? Like
Yeah, Ahsoka, yeah.
Andor uses a lot of greys, but it
Mm.
still looks atmospheric and like it's an actual
Yeah.
product. Ahsoka just
Yeah.
looks like someone's fucking painted a bit of grey. Like that's it.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
so
looks like
flat.
someone
Yeah.
shit out
Yeah.
grey. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's so
it
flat.
reminds me a little bit of Man of Steel, really, where like you could tell what they were trying to go for, but it doesn't have the same effect because there's nobody actual of talent
Yeah.
working on it. Because it's
Yeah.
like I remember in Man of Steel they're trying to go for this silvery sort of look, but it actually just looks like we're washing gravel for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the current shows today where they're looking at mid and thinking they're masterpieces and saying let's go for that,
Well-
and then the quality of what they're doing has no message and there's no meaning behind it. They're just like, we like slop.
Well, yeah, another example of that is within the same franchise. Like The Mandalorian episode 1 looks incredible because it
Yeah.
had Greg
Yeah.
Fraser as cinematographer working with the volume. Surprise,
Yeah,
surprise.
and it's just a
after
massive
he's
drop in
out,
quality.
yeah. Surprise, surprise, he's not working on it, and it's an absolute piece of shit, and it looks awful.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and the thing with the volume as well, because now the volume was first being used as an interesting, fresh way to bring
Yeah.
something to life. Now it's used as an easy cop out because
Yeah.
it's just easier to put
And-
a backdrop on rather
yeah,
than build a set.
And now some people are going away from it because like, oh well, it's not looking good. Well, no, it's because you don't know how to
Yeah.
use it.
Exactly.
It was used in Batman again by Greg Fraser, and it looks unbelievable. Like you just
Yeah.
need to get the talent who know how to use it like properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not even necessarily. I think when we say talent, of course, we just mean experienced professionals.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think even some of the worst filmmakers, you have them with experience in terms of filmmaking sets and lighting, and they're going to know more than what people are doing today. And I really don't want to be like, naming names or criticizing the people that are working on the current stuff. But I think they, I don't think it's all their fault as well. I would actually say it's casting and those sorts of people who specifically choose people to work on the sets. They need to do better at their job because they need to know what it's going to look like before they even hire the person.
Yeah.
And I think that's the trouble as well. Is like where, like I said it earlier, when we're getting people that look at mid and then say we'll have that but worse. I think that has become the norm too much, and I think it is this like this quality dilution that I mentioned. In terms, people are getting far less creative with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Far less creative. It's just they're looking at past things and thinking, let's do that but worse. I mean, obviously they're not thinking that, but that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, that's the thing as well, is like so many of these products, specifically obviously of Marvel and Star Wars, they've been conveyor belt jobs. So where the product is already there, and it's like, ooh, we'll go out and get him to do our job, and it's just direct of a hire rather than right, we're going to build this entire project round the style of this director and the way he wants to tell the film, or the way that director and cinematographer partnership, or the way this writer likes to write. It's solely based on, oh, we've got this product, we'll go out and get this guy, we'll do the job, and it's just a soulless cash grab.
Oh,
Yeah. I think the trouble is that like in terms of like how they look and how they feel and stuff, this is a lot of the time I think because where you get like Disney's influence and whatnot, none of them feel like they have a director. They all feel totally directionless. There's nobody helming it. There's no director to say this is what I want the product to look like and what I want it to be beforehand, so as they can get the right people in. This is a case of I've been brought in here and I'm being paid a lot of money. This is amazing for my CV. I mean, great, and it does ultimately fall on the people who are making these big. I would guess it's like Disney executives and producers. I don't know like for sure and stuff because none of us know what the hell we're talking about, yada yada. But I would guess that there needs to be more focus. The trouble is they're focused on making money. They know that they can make things with the lowest effort, the lowest production and still make an absolute incredible amount of money, because that's all they're focused on now, especially like showing that they've been more focused on streaming because they know they can get more eyes, they can get more numbers and stuff like that. When you're doing that specifically, when cinema exists, you are making a choice, you are making a monetary decision.
Yeah.
Like solely. Because cinema has existed for its art form. That's why, filmmakers preserve it and such. When you make a decision to not release things like Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? You think about that in terms of the 2000s, that's coming out as a film. That's coming out as a film, and you're going to get, whether it's a good or filmmaker or not, you're going to get some kind of creative decisions actually behind the film.
Yeah.
And I think it's just where the industry has gone today, where we're not getting any creative decisions. We're not getting any directors who actually control the product. We're getting people who control the product, whose first intention is how much money can we not spend and how much money can we make.
Yeah.
Well, it's a shame for something like Star Wars as well, which should feel like an event. It should feel like event cinema. Like, when The Force Awakens came out, that was huge. It felt like, probably bit, it was insane.
Yeah, I remember The Force Awakens coming out. That was one of the greatest cinema experiences of my entire life.
I'd agree.
100%.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But now anything Star Wars comes out, it's like, who cares? Like, no one cares.
Yeah.
I think the trouble is like I think in what I will say in J.J. Abrams' credit, he tried to make what the hell is even the third one?
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that shit one. He tried to make that an event as well, but that's actually, what was that, 2019?
2019.
Yeah.
And in 5 years of absolute slop and where the direction had gone, it had changed, and that type of thing doesn't work anymore because of the specific decisions that were made in that period to cater to someone. Because like when The Force Awakens comes out, J.J. Abrams has so much creativity in that film. And I think with when you actually have something like that that's starting it should set the tone for everything else. I think that's usually what it is. But it didn't.
Yeah.
Like, how does the first not set the tone? How does it not set the bar? Like that it's a ridiculous concept to me, where they were going for this trilogy and they clearly had like a 10-year plan in mind, a business company the size of Disney. But then over the next 5 to 10 years, they don't show it.
Yeah.
It feels like they were making it up as they went along, or they immediately scrapped plans based on different things, and it's been horribly spearheaded. I don't know who was making it. I know a lot of decisions were made by like Kathleen Kennedy and stuff like that, but I don't see how she would be a problem when Kathleen Kennedy was associated with Star Wars since like the 80s, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was with Lucas. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so
she was number 2 on them all, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so it's like I think it's a lot of the decision making was consistently poor, to the point where it's irreparably changed the industry. In my, I hate Star Wars.
Yeah,
I hate it. I used to love. I cannot stand it now.
Yeah, it's completely watered down for me, to the point where I no longer like Star Wars. I no longer like speaking about Star Wars.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to speak about The Last Jedi and share different opinions and stuff, and have really, interesting, passionate conversations, and it's become boring.
Yeah.
We should be having those conversations about maybe Andor. We should be having those conversations about any Star Wars product. But any Star Wars product is like, oh yes, it's come out. It's fucking shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just such a pathetic product now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And it isn't just Disney and Star Wars. It is actually Disney with other products that we've already talked about as well.
Yeah.
It is quality dilution, and it's like watering down a whiskey. Foul. Could you imagine putting water in with your whiskey? That is the most disgusting drink anybody's ever drank, and that is what we have in cinema.
Talking about water and alcohol.
Have we got number 2?
Number 2 is a religious film. Not religious, but it's about religion. Just as Jesus turned water into wine, Rid would not dilute whiskey with water.
Exactly.
But yeah, number 2. I won't talk about this one for much at all, because there's not much to say really. But I saw Immaculate yesterday, and it was okay. That was pretty much what I had to say. It's
Yeah.
just fine. It has a very good ending. Sydney Sweeney is very good. I think maybe she's got strong prospects in the horror genre. She's got like real potential to become like a
Scream Queen.
yeah, scream queen. Yeah, that's the phrase I'm looking for. Because she's got the stuff for.
She's got the strong prospects.
I'm just giving you some setup period. Yeah, good ending with good Sydney Sweeney scream.
Is it
With
basically a mid film, or is it interesting enough to watch? Would you
it's
say?
it's mid until the last 5 minutes, and then it's a
Oh, right.
really good last 5 minutes. That
Hmm.
it kind of made me bump it up from a 2.5 star to a 3 star. So yeah, it's okay. Like you won't walk away from it being like that was a new and exciting horror film. You'll just think that was a fine film.
Yeah.
Is it even worth watching?
Uh,
Am I going to learn anything from it?
if you have nothing to do in the day, it's worth watching.
Okay,
But
I'm never going to watch it.
but also,
Ever.
if you have nothing to do in the day, you may as well watch a better film.
Yeah.
Just like my number one film of 2024, which
That's
is,
on.
of course, it's Dune Part Two.
It doesn't have a lot of competition right now.
No, it's quite a steep gap between
Yeah.
between the films on my 2024 list so far. But yeah, Dune 2 is far and away the best.
Ryan, have you seen Dune 2?
I have. I've seen it twice.
Yeah. I am looking forward to seeing it again. I just literally have not had the time to see it again. But yeah, I'm thankfully people are still going to see it. So I think I'm hoping it's going to be in cinema for a little bit longer. So as it gives me a second chance at the cinema, because I went with Eddie and I went with Jake, and we were right in the center of an IMAX screen, which is the best place to be in an IMAX screen. And the experience, I was saying that it's probably, for me, it's alongside like The Force Awakens as being the best sci-fi experience I've had.
Yeah.
With a film release. I think it's we were talking about Star Wars and such, but it absolutely has that feel. It has a modern day Star Wars feel.
Yeah.
Like, you put a Star Wars film in Villeneuve's hands, I think it feels like Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
Because
and a lot of Lord of the Rings as well in there, I think.
yeah, I remember saying to you, it feels like a sci-fi Lord of the Rings. I remember saying that as we were having a romantic stroll along the pier.
We were.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it does. And I thought those days were done. I thought the actual successful trilogy concept of like this epic universe, like a Star Wars or a Lord of the Rings or a Matrix, I thought that was totally dead.
Yeah.
But it really takes a filmmaker of incredible quality to actually make it possible in 2020s. Well, I'm hoping the third one actually is going to be part of this, like the praise I'm giving it, because obviously when I talk about two, I'm also including one as well as part of this feel.
Yeah.
Because that's huge, as something I've learned, is that the feel of a film as well, and it's not even something you can critique. It's not something you can really analyze. It's the atmosphere. It's a pure subjective thing, I find, and Villeneuve has it on point. I think he's incredible with crafting a feel for the way he directs his films. I think for me, he's probably my favorite contemporary filmmaker. I think he's brilliant, and I'm looking forward to everything he does in the future, because what he's done with Dune is, I think, is sensational.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just talking about Star Wars and how their products feel like they're not made by anyone with a vision or with anything to bring stylistically or aesthetically. And I think Dune 1 and 2 both show that if you give a big scale film, big budget film to someone who knows how to make films and knows how to make good films, then you're onto a winning formula then. And it's these kind of franchises that deserve names like Villeneuve leading them, because then you're going to get the best kind of film possible from what you've got. Because I mean, obviously Dune is famously unadaptable, but Villeneuve's shown that it can be done.
I think he's such a. I'm sorry. I don't know if I interrupted. Are you done?
Yes, I'm.
Are you done?
I'm Dune.
Okay, can we kick him from the podcast, please? Like you mentioned it right at the end. Like, you know, Villeneuve, he did an impossible job.
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson, when he worked on Lord of the Rings, before starting filmmaking, he said to all of his crew, "Look, we all know that what we're doing is impossible, so let's just get on and do it." And then they ended up crafting what they did. So when you get a filmmaker who looks at an impossible task and actually makes it successful, regardless of whether it's impossible or not, then you have a great filmmaker.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though, you say like, you know, you mentioned like atmosphere or like there's like a feel. But
Yeah.
I think it's the same. Like you get certain films that like you just know immediately. Like Dune Part One, like the opening shot of just Arrakis and then Zendaya's like little monologue. How it looks so beautiful when the sun is low. You just know.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I use the Batman for an example. I remember seeing the title card, and I knew immediately that this is going to be amazing. Like,
Yeah.
you just there's a certain, like you said, like it's feel, it's atmosphere.
Yeah.
I don't really
Like,
know
obviously,
what it
I
is, but-
imagine, you know, you could probably use like filmic terms or whatever to actually get down to the gritty and analyze it. But to me, I like the idea that it's not analyzable. You
Yeah.
can't. I don't know if that's a word, but you cannot analyze it. It's a feel where something clicks.
Yeah.
And yeah, you may be able to analyze it, but I think that you don't need to when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Because it's something that just, it's like, I remember the first time I ever felt that was at the start of the Fellowship when Kate Blanchett is narrating, and it's the pure feel of something. It doesn't have to be narration. It doesn't have to be immediate lore infrastructure as soon as you start the film. It is a feel that a director that knows what he's doing captures.
Yeah.
Dude, what a film.
I think it's not going to, unfortunately, set an industry standard, because I think stuff like Marvel and Disney, and I think they've done too much damage to what's there. I think if the third one is the same quality, then there's a chance that it can set some kind of, like, I'm sure like you'll both remember after Lord of the Rings came out, everything, like a bunch of medieval stuff came out that was terrible, and they all tried to recapture what Lord of the Rings had, and all of them cataclysmically failed. I'm thinking of stuff like Centurion and Kingdom of Heaven and stuff like that.
Yeah. I will say though, I think it, as much as you say, like from the medieval fantasy side, it didn't succeed, but I think it did set a standard for blockbusters, because Pirates of the Caribbean and Harry Potter, were another precedent for filmmaking in blockbusters at the time. And then post Harry Potter, there was a very big lull, in terms of its craft and quality, because I think. Obviously, the scale of Lord of the Rings is much bigger and vast, but I think in terms of like quality of the craft, Harry Potter and Pirates of the Caribbean go alongside Lord of the Rings for sure.
Yeah, I think the reason why there was, like you said, there was a lull is because of one of the topics that we can segue into is the television industry, because Lost in the mid-2000s actually set the tone then for and set the standard for like television and stuff. So I think there was a far greater focus. Like if you look on the profits of cinema as a whole, it's a downward slope until, like the peak of like Marvel stuff, which there's a spike, and now we're in the lowest slope that cinema has ever been. So I think what is called is it called the golden age of television? Eddie?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
so
it's technically this is the second golden age, but it is the golden age. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what it's fascinating when, like, because television is generally seen as, because usually they lumped in as the film and television industry. Actually, they're two totally different industries, but one actually affected another to a point where it actually was like seeing the rise of something rather than them both sort of like, passing back and forth for a while. But it's and I think if we think about things like Lost, and because like obviously that was the thing that that changed things and whatever. you have to think what the film industry is going to do to sort of like win that back. But I don't think anybody cared enough to do so, which is why I think it went into a lull for a while.
Mm. Well, I think after Dune and after Furiosa, the film industry is going to see some sandy movies.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just. I think 2023 itself is. It can be a good thing for the industry, specifically going forward, because at least we know that cinemas are not going to go away if the quality of product is there. Because, for instance, with Barbie and Oppenheimer, it goes to show that the fans still want to go out to the cinema and see a film. And the same with Dune Part Two. Like, it's what is it, nearly 600 million now. Like, if it's good and people want to go and see it, then they can see it.
Yeah. Well, I think Barbie's another proof of like get a proper director to make a big name film, and you'll draw people in. Because I think Barbie would have done nowhere near the numbers it did had it not been for Greta Gerwig and being able to make that film probably as good as it could be. Like given what it is.
I think Barbie's an interesting one for me because I remember having a really good cinema experience with it and such. But you take me out of that experience, and basically, I'm not looking forward to watching it like when I'm home alone.
Yeah. It's a communal film, isn't it? It's one.
It is
communal cinema, like everyone laughing.
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes that's a problem for the actual film itself. It's interesting because you get like some films that are specifically created for that communal cinema experience, and then you actually watch them and they're fucking dog shit. Like No Way Home is the one that stands out in my mind for me, which is an incredible communal cinema experience. And then if you actually watch it by itself, and it's just dog shit. And
the first hour of No Way Home is horrendous.
Well,
yeah.
What does that say about me then? Because when I was watching No Way Home with a packed cinema, I still wanted to kill myself.
Well, then don't watch it when you're alone, because we don't want to know what happens. I think it's I don't think I've put enough thought into it whether it's actually damaging for the industry to create films just for that communal experience, because I would say that's what basically Marvel is now. But whilst it was growing, I don't think it was. I think it accidentally became that. Based on the popularity of like Infinity War and Endgame, and like, oh my god, the reactions to people dying. I think that's how it accidentally became a communal experience. So it's now a case of where they're promoting something that's actually inevitably harmful to the product.
Yeah, that's why I think Barbie was like I say, as good as it could be, because I think it's really just a solid comedy, and I think like with Greta Gerwig directing it, you'd probably expect it to be more, and I think I'd want it to be more. But I think knowing that it's still a studio product, it's still got Mattel's CEOs all over it, kind of thing. I think it does the best it can at being a crowd pleaser, but also being more interesting than your typical like communal cinema entertainment schlock that you'd see from like a Marvel.
Yeah.
I think what Barbie has done is shown me that I would be very interested to see like just a sole Greta Gerwig created, and by sole, of course, I mean a team of her own, not a team of like Mattel, whatever. But I mean, without that, but a comedy by itself that actually focuses with the same sort of themes that Barbie sort of pretends to have. It does have them, but like it's always with that knowledge in the background that this is actually just a commercial product. Even though it's supposed to be, but I think that some of the things that happen in Barbie, where it's like a women empowerment film and such like that I think Greta Gerwig has strengths in that area. For maybe it's because she's a woman, I don't know, but no, it's made me realize that actually I would like to see more of this sort of product. But then you think about things like the way the industry is, how the hell do filmmakers even get that kind of funding without the backing of Mattel, who just want to make a commercial product? So everything just becomes layers of irony on top of irony.
Yeah, well, I think she tackled that with like Lady Bird, but it's obviously not as overtly comical as Barbie is. But
obviously she's become far more of a better filmmaker now, because Lady Bird was 2017, I think.
Yeah, I think it's
So it'd
27.
be interesting to see what
Yeah.
she could do, like, nearly 10 years
Yeah.
after that.
Well,
The
the thing
pro-
is, I think now she's snatched up by the.
Yeah,
She's doing
get
Narnia,
it.
isn't she?
Yeah, she's in the blockbuster machine now, sadly.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. She's
Which
working.
I didn't know that.
I'm happy for her in a sense because you got a female director who's going to be making big budget films, and
Yeah,
you know she's getting the opportunity to have a big bag. But then it's also disappointing because it's a loss for you know liking Lady Bird so much, and then like absolutely adoring Little Women as much as I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Then
It's like films not like that are going to come out from her anytime
exactly,
soon.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, that's
unless she does Little Women 2, where they all have like Infinity Stones and stuff, that'd be pretty cool.
But
Little Women.
Florence Pugh like collecting like rubies and sapphires would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have no extra point to that. It was just a silly comment. I'm sorry.
So thanks for watching episode 1. You know, particularly in episode 2, we delve into 2023, but particularly around our top 10 favorite films, and also the films we didn't like. You know, we mention what we liked about them, what we disliked about them, and we go into a bit of depth on, you know, quite a few different films that could interest a lot of people. We will go off into our studies, you know, the feedback on our studies, what went well, what didn't go well, and what pathway that leads you into the industry. Is it successful? Is it not successful? Yeah, so see you on the next one.